I could be with anyone. You're here with me. You're here with me. You could be around for me. You could be with anyone. Yeah, I could be with anyone. You're here with me. You're here with me.
Hey, what's going on, people? Welcome to the Tuesday night show. This will be a call-in show. We're going to talk about the, as mentioned in the on the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the Karmello Anthony, Austin Metcalf case. We have a verdict in said case, so I'm not particularly going to go over the specifics of the case and how the case works. What I want to talk about is the exploitative nature of how this case is being presented and how it's being disseminated online and how things are moving forward, and why I think that it creates a sense of division unnecessarily. Right? This case was geared and teed up to cause a explosion of division, divide within the country, and frankly, distraction within the country. And I want to talk about some of those issues. Awesome. Thank you, Lizzie B. So I'm going to drop some tunes and let the room fill up. And we're going to get started. We're going to go through hearts in the chat. I'm going to kick things off, and then that will be that. All right. So give me a moment, and we can go.
Could be watching chefs burn pots in the kitchen, or influencers fake fights for attention. Drama queens with crowns, but no conviction. But now you're here, my addiction. Could've clicked that prank, that mukbang feast, or streams of gamers slaying beats. But you're here with me, not scrolling free, not lost in streams or reality. You're here with me where you wanna be, out the algorithm, just you and me. Could be watching cats knock glasses down, or a dude trying to stunt, stressed as a clown. DIY hacks turn smiles to frowns, but you're vibing here, no fakes around sound. This ain't unboxing or ASMR. No clickbait titles, no rented cars. Realest channel in your repertoire. Stay tuned, superstar. But you're here with me, not scrolling free, not lost in streams or reality. You're here with me where you wanna be, out the algorithm, just you and me.
Per usual, we're going to give one more song for an opportunity for folks to come kind of pile into the room. Hopefully everybody's having an awesome day. Let's kick it off.
Screw. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Scrolling through the tube, all the thumbnails flash. Cats doing flips, pranks gone bad, they crash. But now you landed here where the beats don't miss. Yeah, algorithm point, but you hit my abyss. Oh. Could've clicked the cooking show. Could've learned to tie a boat. But you chose this flow. So let's go, yeah. You could be watching any YouTube channel, but you're here with me, grab the remote, dismantle. Lost in the pixels, but the vibe too ample. You could've clicked away, now you're stuck in my scandal. ASMR whispers, mukbang feast, unbox therapy or conspiracy priest. But now you're in the trap, this rap's your feast. Chewing on the words, every line unleashed. A million views, a billion streams, but don't hit the vein of these digital dreams. You could surf the net, but you stayed in my scheme. Caught up in my rhythm, my beat supreme. You'll be watching any YouTube channel, but you're here with me, grab the remote, dismantle. Lost in the pixels, but the vibe too ample. You could've clicked away, now you're stuck in my scandal.
All right. We are back in full effect. Yeah, I think that this case is actually going to be my first dalliance into I guess what we're going to call the true crime portion of my take on reality. I wasn't really planning on kicking it off this way, but since sometimes you got to go with the hand you're dealt, you got to move with the flow. Shit might not happen in the time you plan, but you got to be ready to rock and roll when it comes, and that's kind of where we are. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm proceeding, and that's how I'm moving forward. All right, but when it comes down to it, I think this case. Well, before we get into the case, let me go through what I like to refer to as hearts in the chat. For those who aren't familiar, or maybe new to the channel, saw the live stream and was curious what I was going to say about the whole issue. It comes down to simply this: here in this community, we like to support each other as best we can. We like to find common ground for discussions, as well as respect one another and take care of each other as best we can, especially in the world we live in. So, as a result, we have what's called hearts in the chat. It's just an opportunity for us to support each other. As people are going through changes, they're going through life changes, they're going through special things, maybe experience loss, or whatever the case may be. We're given an opportunity to be able to just put hearts in the chat to show solidarity amongst those folks who may or may not feel comfortable saying, like, hey guys, I need some help. Hey guys, I'm going through this thing, or whatever the case may be. Just kind of that suffering silence. So if we could put some hearts in the chat for those individuals. I also want to put some hearts in the chat for some people whose names have come to my attention. I want to send hearts in the chat. Hold on one second. Yeah, I want to send hearts in the chat to some folks. We had a member who is potentially, today is the day where they're going through some very positive, hopefully positive things. They have some medical things going on with their family. They're expanding their family. So I want to give a huge thoughts and prayers, good vibes, whatever, however you do it. Send them to Susie Q. Today is the day. Well, hopefully we'll hear some good news on Saturday. But I want to include Kitty, Negla 3, Brittany Not Brittany, Jody Periscala, Carmel Cuties, Megatron, Miss Betty, Kathy Ferran, Allison Gaines, Marlo Peterson, and Team Ty Lit Mom. And I also want to include in that anybody who is serving in the military or in the armed services, as they're going through some transitions and changes of their own, as well as their friends and family, because they too will be impacted by anything that they go through. So if somebody gets deployed or they get assigned somewhere, the friends, family, and community of those individuals will miss those people while they're gone, and hopefully they have a safe return. So let's put some hearts in the chat for those individuals as well. All right. So James. Why are we here? What are we here to talk about? I'm here specifically to talk about something I've been noticing with regard to this case, even beyond the tragedy of this case, because I think that this case is tragic on so many levels. I think that there are ways that this case could have been discussed and talked about, which would have been far more beneficial and informative as far as what was going on with the case, what are the issues, what are the things that we should be focused on, and more importantly, not only how we can move together or move past just merely breaking things down onto a racial or superfluous, meaningless, superficial level, but actually understanding how our system works and what the rules and guidelines are. And I think that for the most part, a lot of the coverage that I've seen with regard to this case, they dropped the ball. Because everybody, it seems like a lot, and maybe it's just my feed, maybe it's my algorithm because I'm so outraged by it. The YouTube folks recognize that if you like something, they'll send you that thing. But if you really dislike something, they send more of that to you, because outrage sometimes fuels a machine. So I'm acknowledging that as well, that I might have like a maybe information bias as far as what's being sent to me. But that's also part of the problem, is that instead of us hearing the truth of a situation, the facts of a case, what we're hearing is what makes me feel good. What makes me feel good? And that's part of the problem. So when I talk about this case being a source of division, that's what I'm specifically referring to. There's a few people I saw, oh, this is the race hustlers are going to be out there, and this people are defending Karmello Anthony because he's this, and they don't want they want to convict Karmello because Austin Metcalf is that, and this shows this breakdown in the system, blah blah blah, and we have to battle against the race hustlers who trying to use race to divide us, while the whole time the folks who are complaining about race dividing us are dividing us by race. They're the ones who are bringing race up, because you could talk about this case without ever talking about race. This was never a racial case from the beginning. I never heard one person testify, not one person testify that Austin or his brother, the Metcalf boys, came over to Karmello Anthony and dropped the N-word, or they said, get your black ass out. I never heard that. The motivation, as far as I know, in the information that I received, was the Metcalf young men looked at Karmello Anthony, said he wasn't from our school and we don't want him in our tent. Now we could talk about that too, and I'll probably talk about that in a later live as we dissect the case, not using any racial elements because it's not present. Nor have I heard anybody say that Karmello Anthony said, I'm going to go over there and pick a fight with these white kids and see what's going on, what's popping, if I could poke one of them. That was never one of the elements. So I don't understand how we get to a point where all of a sudden it's a racial animus case. This is not a racial bias case. At best, this was a self-defense case in Karmello Anthony's thing. At worst, this is a case of unaliving somebody, intentionally unaliving somebody. In either case, it doesn't have to have any racial motivation whatsoever. Anybody who assigns racial animus to this case is doing so on their own behalf. This is your interpretation. And if you say, well, but James, it's how those people are taking it. Those people, because if situations were reversed, what would the black community expect to happen? If a white kid was sitting under a tent, two black kids walk over to him and try to kick him out of that tent, the white kid stabs that one of the black kids and kills him, right? I don't know if I can say that. Probably just got demonetized that quick. But got banned. And a black kid stabs that kid and does him dirty. What would be the call? What would have happened? What would have happened was if it was situation was reversed, what would have happened was people would expect everything that happened to Karmello Anthony to happen to Austin Metcalf if the situation was reversed. Meaning you would expect there to be an investigation. You would expect there to be a trial if there is a question. You would expect that if they are discovered that there is a crime, who committed the crime, potentially why they committed a crime, which is irrelevant for the most part. And if found guilty, you would expect that person to go to jail. Everything that's happened. This is called the justice system. This is how it works. This is how our system of government works. And we have to get to a point where we stop doing this, taking these positions of this like vigilante bullshit when it comes to these types of cases. We have to let the system work. The founding fathers of our country envisioned a country. What makes America unique is not just we got freedom. We got freedom. That's not what makes America unique. What makes America unique is that America, from its inception, was supposed to be a people-powered government. People powered, not individual power. That would be what we broke away from. So turning over all your power to the government or to people who are financially elite to make decisions for you, that would have been the government that we broke away from. That's we had a disagreement with them. That's why we didn't want to be one of the English colonies. That's why we told them that, go ahead down the street and kick rocks, because we didn't want to be under one person and have that animus. And that's what it comes down to. Hold on one second, Vixen. And that's what it comes down to. Right? This is supposed to be a people power government, which means that's why we have the First Amendment. It's supposed to be the dissemination of information. So first one, freedom of speech. You have freedom of speech, not to be able to say whatever you want. You have freedom to be able to talk against the government so that you can point out what is going on with the government so you can pass that information on. You have freedom of the press so that you're able to disseminate that information freely without being scared of the government coming back and punishing you because you are watchdog in the government. You have the freedom of protections for association as far as who you can associate with and who you can spend your time with. Freedom of religion, which is also protection of association. Then you get into the Second Amendment. Everybody's all crazy about. But even then, as you go through, it's always something to where we can keep an eye on the government. As far as your right to have an attorney present, the right to have an open trial, a public trial. And that's one of the things that I think they put in a kind of in a tinderbox to set us up. This case was supposed to blow the country apart. In my opinion, this case was supposed to blow the country apart. The Metcalf case was supposed to blow the country apart. Because if they come back and say, because from the inception of this case, and then I'll get to some of the comments. From the inception of this case, it was presented that the only way Karmello Anthony could win this case is if it's based on race. The only way he could win this case is if it's based on race. It got so bad, there was a few people I saw made the commentary that, oh yeah, this reminds me of the O.J. Simpson case. See, I'm old enough, clearly, where if you've been on this planet long enough, you've seen everything at least twice. Okay. Sometimes 3-4 times. But I was around when the O.J. case happened, right? And I paid attention to the O.J. case. There was a big thing when you say that the reason why OJ got off is because Mark Fuhrman dared to utter the N-word. And that word in itself was so powerful that they acquitted OJ of murder of 2 people. And I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit, because that's not why that word was so powerful. Because at the time, if we want to keep things into perspective, at the time of that particular case, of the OJ case, ABC, NBC, CBS, the 3 major networks, all had primetime sitcoms where the N-word was frequently used and it wasn't called the N-word. I'm talking about major primetime shows. The Jeffersons, Good Times, Sanford and Son, Archie Bunker, All in the Family, etc., etc., etc. The word wasn't new. The word was taken out of the word was taken out of because it was uncomfortable to hear during the OJ trial. They used the word so much that it was uncomfortable to hear, that they made the word a sacred thing, that they started calling it the N-word. That's where the whole N-word thing became popularized. But why was the N-word important? Because Mark Fuhrman, the detective who found all the evidence against O.J. Simpson in this case, he went to one location, found the blood, the glove, at the crime scene. He's also the one that found the glove at OJ's compound. This dude didn't have a house. He had an estate. He went and found the glove in both locations in the middle of the night. Black gloves in the middle of the night. He found that. He found footprints. He found the truck. He found the blood stains on the Bronco. He found all the evidence that they had against OJ. He found. And it just so happens that Detective Mark Furman was seeing a psychologist mandated by the department for his racial bias, because he said he had fantasies of driving down the street into neighborhoods and unaliving Black and Latino people. And it got to the point where, as they got through his sessions and his time with that psychologist, he had admitted that there have been several times where he planted evidence on certain individuals so that he could secure convictions. And in addition to that, part of the reason why they were able to call those records in, because normally those records are protected, part of the reason they were able to call that in because they asked him point blank on a stand as a way to impeach his character, have you ever used the N-word? And he said no. So they said, we have evidence and records of you using the N-word. Just so happens that they tied to all these records where you were talking about you wanted to unalive and set up certain folks. That when that came in, the guy who found all the evidence is also a guy who wants to unalive certain people, and he also wants to plant evidence on certain people, is the guy who found all the evidence. That shit is relevant. And so when you ask for reasonable doubt, that would provide reasonable doubt. And that's why O.J. Simpson walked. That's why he got off. It had nothing to do with the N-word and the racial division and everybody's against everybody. That had nothing to do with it. So when you use that little call box, it taps into feelings that people think that there was something, a foul that went on. Something was wrong. And this happened. Right? You update it now with social media and everything else, the way they conducted this trial. And I'm kind of rounding out now. The way they conducted this trial, one, this was a trial that received national attention. The judge decided that even though this trial received national attention, and more information is always better than less information, hence the First Amendment, which protects the Fourth Estate, which protects, the press, the speech, so on and so forth. More information, a more informed public is able to make a more informed decision, right? Part of the reason why we have open trials, public trials, because we don't want people sneaking off to a back room making these types of decisions. We want to know what's going on with our government because we're in charge of our government. Power to the people. People-powered government. But instead of them opening the trial up, they decided they're going to put it in a smaller courtroom. So he limited the amount of people who could attend the trial. He limited the number of people from each family who could come and support those individuals. They limited the public that could come to the trial. They also limited the press coverage that was in the trial. We have technology now. We could videotape and we could see from gavel to gavel, soup to nuts, everything that happened during the course of the trial. That way there's no question as to what happened and why people may have ruled the way they ruled. Instead, we are relying on people to go in and sit down in the courthouse, listen to the testimony, and come back out and tell us, the audience, the public, the community, what they think is important in the trial. And when they give their assessment of what they think is important in the trial, it may have nothing to do with what's discussed in the jury box. As an example, when you write a play or a movie, there are many stories of people who have actors and writers who will say the most iconic lines from these movies, I had no idea they were going to be that big. An example I'll use, like I say, you've been around long enough, you've seen things at least 3-4 times. An example I'll use is Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator. One of his most iconic lines was something that he argued with the director and writer about incessantly. And to them, it was a throwaway line. The line is, when the Terminator walks in, Sarah Connor, his target, is in a police station, and he wants to get back there so he can Sarah Connor. That's his objective. And the police officer at the desk won't let him back. So Arnold Schwarzenegger looks at the encasement and he says, "I'll be back. I'll be back." Those 3 words. Arnold Schwarzenegger argued with the director because his English was already broken and he didn't really understand contractions. Shouldn't I say "I will be back"? Wouldn't that sound better? I will be back. I'm supposed to be a robot. Why am I using contractions and not speaking proper English? The director told him, "Look, I don't tell you how to act. You don't tell me how to write. Say the damn words. Just say it." So he went in and said it. And that became the most iconic line, most quoted line of all his movies. In fact, that line appears in, I think, almost every movie he's done since he's been doing movies and since he started in that role. And nobody, you couldn't tell anybody during the time they wrote that line was going to be that popular. Because you don't know what they're thinking about. You don't know where they are. So when you have a reporter sit in this trial and he says, "Oh, these are the things that are important, and this is what was said, and this is how the jury's going to take it," they have no idea because they don't know what that jury is thinking. They don't know what's important to that jury. As somebody who's been trained and has education and has degrees in criminal justice, criminology, sociology, philosophy, etc., I would look at and experience in law firms, etc., I would look at evidence presented differently than most people might look at evidence being presented. I might think something is important. Somebody else blow right past it and say, "Well, what about this?" That's why juries work, because they think about things in a common way. We should be able to, and as far as "Oh, you should have a legal degree to be able to discuss that," that's not how our system works. Because the people who sit in the jury box don't have legal degrees. People who sit in the jury box don't have legal degrees. They're regular citizens. Our system should be such, our laws and systems should be such that the average person can understand them. And that's the whole thing. So they don't have to do this whole the shim sham, flim flam, race hustler stuff. The case is bad enough. That young man died for a dumbass reason. It was a senseless death. There's no honor in this for anybody involved. Both families have been touched. And if you look at both those young men, right, their families will be changed forever. One is not here. One potentially could be going away for the rest of his life, right? Neither one of them are going to be the same. These are 2 good-looking kids. And their lives are changed and different. They don't need the added pressure of being somebody's a puppet to try to get their political movements moving forward. So that's one of the things that I wanted to touch on. Let me go back. When I hit some of these super chats, we had a Ty with the $10 super chat. Said, "I live in the area and work only miles from the courthouse, and in all my life, I've never seen anything like I'm seeing in my city. I've never seen a race war before, and it's happening right before me." And that's where I have a problem, because, folks, I've said this in previous lives leading up to this, as I'm making a transition into a lot of the true crime stuff, that some of the reason why I wanted to talk about these issues and some of these things is because a lot of this is distraction. A lot of this is just distraction and noise. Because we could talk about this case without it ever rising to the level of any type of division. It didn't have to come to this. And a great way that they could have prevented this is simply by putting out as much information as possible and letting people hear what they have to say. Let them hear the uncomfortable parts, right? Because, and we'll be discussing the uncomfortable parts when I break this case down, because I do want to talk about this case. Because I think there's a lot of things on, I'm not going to do the whole both side bullshit, but there's a whole lot of things that we can talk about with regard to this case that I think have not really truly been addressed. And we need to start, paying attention and getting involved, because if we sit around and just let people tell us what they want us to know, like, I've never been a fan of that. I know, like, I have some people who followed me as I was covering a reality show, Sister Wives. And one of the things we always criticized about people in cults, religions, or so on and so forth, is that they sit there and they listen to somebody tell them what a document or text or guiding principle is, and they never question it for themselves. They never read the document for themselves. They never get hands-on with the original information. Instead, they trust somebody else to tell them what the information is or what something says. And I think that that's a mistake. I don't trust anybody who's coming out telling me what, giving me summaries, especially when we have the technology for me to be able to see the whole thing. But thank you so much, Ty. Yeah, thanks for the update. And the silly part is that no matter what the decision was, it wasn't going to calm things down, specifically because of the way that this case was presented and it was done and it was carried out and executed. Because it was carried out in secret, people don't know the information, so people are able to draw and create their own set of circumstances, conclusions, and situations, and based on that, they're going to react to it. And no matter what anybody says after that, it might not make a difference. There's an old saying that, a lie will jump out of bed and run around town 3 times before truth has an opportunity to get up and put his pants on. Once it's already out and the narratives have been said and the outrage is already infused, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to come back and say, no, but guys, you have to pay attention to X, Y, Z. This is the truth, because people are already rock hard in their assumptions and their beliefs. So thank you so much, Ty. I appreciate it. But that's scary, though, especially in small towns where people start going crazy, because it hits different. When you're in, I don't know if folks ever been in a small town America, like little tiny towns. Spent a lot of time when I was a kid. We would travel down to down south to a small town where my people from. And it's different. Like if something happens in a big city where I'm from, it feels different. It's a different feeling that you get. Like the environment is different. Everybody's upset, everybody's mad, but it's different when it's a small town and you have people, because now it's like almost people and neighbors, and all of a sudden people are looking at each other side eye. It just feels different. It feels more aggressive. We also had Elizabeth's mama in the house with the $1.99 super chat. Said, do we know why manslaughter wasn't the charge? Manslaughter was a lesser included charge, but they went top count on his ass. So, I mean, we'll talk about it. Like I said, we'll get into it. But manslaughter, as far as I know, I think in the charging papers he was charged with manslaughter as well. But they went top count, which is, the big one. They went the big one. So he's facing a lot of time in Huskow. The homeboy is in big trouble. And even if he gets appeals and all that, that could take years and years for him to get out of, if it's deemed that his appeals are granted, it could take years for him to get out. So this is pretty much his situation. But thank you, Elizabeth's mama. I guess the only thing you could maybe look for is a judge to set aside the verdict, which is unlikely as hell. Which is extremely unlikely. Dare I say that's fantasy that would happen. Let's see. Vixen had asked me something. 1 second, guys. Then I'll open it up and we can talk for a little bit. Oh, Vixen, just so you know, with Susan Q, hopefully she's gotten some good news. She's going for something positive, family positive, and hopefully the procedure works. That's what we're kind of doing. I don't really like putting people's business out unless they want me to. But yeah, I'll say that. Like, so fingers crossed. It could be a good thing. Could be a really good thing. Hey, James, can you Clune? I'm lost on what the subject of our conversation now. You know, we're still talking about the sister wives, or are there other things going on? What's the lowdown? Okay, just to give you a quick heads up, and then I'm going to let me add the thing. 1 second. All right. Just so you know, I am moving. It's not that I'm not covering Sister Wives anymore. I will be covering that on the My Take on Reality thing, and as well as My Take on Reality Live channels. But to be very clear, there's not a lot to talk about with regard to them. They don't have much going on. They are, it's to the point now where, if I'm going to be blunt, they're boring. They're boring as hell. Like, it's just not, they don't have enough going on. And even if we try to pretend like there's like this big cross section of like things going on between Cody and Robin and other wives and things of that nature, there doesn't have to be at this point. Like, if they're still interacting with each other, they're doing so by choice. Because even with regard to Truly, well, they still have a minor child together. Yeah, but Truly's like 16 years old. And so if you have a court-ordered visitation, all you have to do is make the child available. You don't have to, call and contact each other and go back and forth and do the whole argument stuff. The order is the order. You just follow the order. He can call Truly. She has her own independent way to be able to talk to him. There's no reason why they're disputing one another. Everybody's moved on. Everybody has their own relationships in their lives. So it's not really a whole lot to talk about with regard to Sister Wives. I will be covering the new season. I'm just not doing it on the first night because I don't want to put the money out, frankly. Just not worth it to me. Like, they just, it's kind of run its course at this point. So I wanted to get into some of the other bigger issues like true crime or social things that are happening, just so that we can actually have more comprehensive conversations about things that are going on and things that are around with regard to, like I said, even with the way our system works. Having a better understanding and discussion on how our system works only improves our country. That's what makes America America. And that's what makes our country strong, is that we have to be participants in our form of government. And in order for us to truly participate, we have to understand what is going on and why it's happening. Right? Because otherwise, like, I've heard people say, oh, we could save a ton of taxpayer money if we just go and get a rope and a strong tree and take care of Anthony. That would be illegal. That would be illegal. And that's absolutely what you don't want, because we don't run our country. This is why we have jurisprudence. This is why we have trial by jury. This is why we have innocent until proven guilty, because we don't want people making flash decisions. We don't want mobs making decisions based on emotional content, on stories that they've heard. There's many of people throughout the history of this country who have lost their lives inappropriately because they heard something or because a lie was told and everybody got emotional, ran down and did something unregrettable, unforgivable, and something that they can't take back. So it's important for us to understand how our system works. Now, here's the tricky part about it. Like speech and like so many other elements of our government, there are going to be points in which we don't like the outcome. We don't like to wait. We don't like the fact that things aren't working out as quickly or the way we want them to, but we have to be able to trust the system. And this is also part of the reason why they don't let everybody get to make the choice. Because if I can make the choice, something happened to my kids, I'm going to choose something one way. But if it happens in the community, and I say I can maybe separate myself from that and look at it as a reasonable, rational way and say, we don't want this type of thing. As an example, I pulled these out. I got to dust them off. But I made some things. I talked all the time about how I was doing woodworking and all that. These are examples of some of the stuff that I was doing, right? When my kids were little, and I had a cousin who was doing woodworking, he passed away. And so in homage to him, I learned how to do work with wood. And these are some of, there we go, the things that I was putting together for my kids when they were little. The little Superman. We got the Flash, right? The Flash. For the ladies, we got the Wonder Womans. The light is jacking me up. And of course, we have the Batman. And my son, he still likes Spider-Man, so he still got Spider-Man stuff. Right? And the thing is that I used to like that stuff when I was a kid too. And I thought it was, Batman is amazing. Batman is amazing, especially Batman, right? The thing is, could you imagine a world where you have the cops show up and there's a group of people beat to hell? Everybody, whether everybody wearing masks or not, this is a group of guys beat to hell, some stolen jewels on the ground. How do you prosecute that case? The last thing you want is vigilante justice works on TV and it works in the movies. But in every one of those cases, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, whatever man you talking about, Wonder Woman, whoever you talking about, those cases will get thrown the hell out of court. Because the people who caught them are people who are anonymous, hence secret identities and masks. What did they see? What happened? Who did what? We don't know, because all that has to be testified and proven in court. So those cases wouldn't exist. Great for TV shows, great for comic books, horrible source of government. And that's basically what we were subjected to in this particular case, because the judge kicked the cases out and he kicked the cameras out. He kicked the information out. So now we're kind of left with this. They're going to go do it in secret. And then here's the verdict. You guys just have to live with it. That's not how our government works. That's not how our government works. So it's kind of where we are. But, let me see. 1 second. I'll have to put there we go. All right. So we have some folks. Let me pull up Negla 3. What's going on, Negla? How you doing?
Hey, James. Hey, my take fan.
Oh, before you get started, we're just talking about like the subject matter, the racial division or propping up of the racial. I don't necessarily want to get into the specifics of the case yet.
Oh, no. That's fine. It's just this case really reminds me of, I don't know if you saw the gas station unaliving trial where the Asian man and his son chased. Yeah. So, and I apologize. I've been kind of MIA. Man, throw 2026 in the trash and just act like it doesn't exist. It's just been the poopiest year. You know what I mean? One thing after another, but it's all good. I'm still here, reasonably in my right mind, and got a little bit of health and strength. So, hey, that's all you can ask for. But the thing with this case, I think what it comes down to it, and I'm not even gonna be funny because my husband will be 49 in 2 weeks, but that man's brain still isn't fully developed. It was two young dumb kids who were cocky against each other because these kids knew each other. I'm not getting like I said, I'm not getting too much into the weeds or whatever, but it's not like they were strangers. They knew each other and really didn't care for each other, but they were two cocky kids, and one was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be, and brought a knife to a fist fight. That's the way I see it. I don't see race in this. Like if the races had been reversed or what have you, it still would have been two dumb kids. Now I do think he deserves to go maybe for 3-5 years or whatever. But but I will say his brain is not fully developed. I I don't know what to tell you. I don't think he should go away for life or anything like that. Like anytime I see a young dumb kid, which is what he was, all of them in that tit that day were, but he was dumb for being where he wasn't supposed to be. But anytime you see something like that, like I really think of the epitome, which is George Stinney, where I think it was 13-year-old who was he's the youngest person executed in the US. And I just think about that when you're talking about putting a kid away for life. But I don't think it's about race. I think it's about two young dumb kids. I mean, what do you think? I don't think it's as deep as we want to make it.
Well, I think that there are ways, like I said, I'll get more specific as far as like the description of the case and the elements of the case in another live. But I don't think,
Sure.
and this is my opinion, I don't think race ever had to come into it, nor do I think race has a place in this particular case.
Agreed.
Because, like I said from the beginning, when the confrontation occurred, I never once heard anybody say that either party
he called him an N-word.
Anybody, yep. Right? There was no epithets. There was no get your ass out of you black or you white. Right. There was none of that. It was just these are, like you said, these are two kids. And if I could harken back, because like I said, you're old enough, you see shit twice.
Absolutely.
About race and rap music being like this terrible thing. I remember groups like NWA, KRS-One, and a lot of the, even especially the West Coast rappers coming together, and they had a song called Self-Destruction. You're headed for self-destruction.
Yes.
Where they were trying to draw a peace between the Bloods and the Crip gangs who were killing each other over street corners. And there was vast conversations about how stupid it is that people are willing to risk their lives, kill and die for a street corner that nobody owns.
Right.
And when rubber meets the road, when I think about this case, it puts me in mind of that very sentiment that these people were ready to fight, kill, and die over a tent that nobody owned. This was a street corner, and two kids came up and said, "You don't belong in my neighborhood," and it resulted in the same type of situation. We would be saying the same thing. This stupid ass death. And in addition to the fact that, like, oh, but this case has national this and it's so important.
It shouldn't.
If the people who want to talk about this being a tragedy really gave a shit about child violence, gave a shit about child death, and gave a shit about child tragedy, we would be talking about school shooters. Half the people who want to sit here and try to make it sound like Metcalf dying was a terrible thing can't name the last 3 school shootings, the last 3 school shooters, or any of their victims.
Well, number one, because they happen every week, and then number 2, because it's like we have such a short attention span. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now we're talking about this. Okay, now we're talking. You know what I mean? Like we don't take the time to actually get down to the root of, okay, why are there so many, so many schools, and all of them are the same, it's the same cause. Kids got bullied, got mad, and shut up the school. Most of them. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean,
they got bullied, and they didn't know how to express their frustration, and they did what, and they did what they did.
Well, it sounds like you're saying that these people are half cooked as human beings. They saw some type of offense and they went out and acted inappropriately, and they responded inappropriate to said offense.
Which is generally
basically what happened underneath that tent. And when rubber meets the road, part of the reason why we don't address the school shootings and the other big issues that are going on is because if we actually addressed them and we paid attention to them, then we would have to do something about it. And
Right.
that's what I'm saying, that this case has turned into a distraction, because if we actually cared anything about it, we would address violence within schools as a whole, and not
Right.
just as a one-off thing where, oh, now that we brought this one guy to justice, now all of a
Right.
sudden we fixed all the problems, which we haven't.
Because what the
There's a lot
next
of things that we could talk about.
I was going to say, because with the next week, wasn't some track star either got stabbed or unalived or something like that? Like the very next week after this happened with Metcalf and Anthony, literally it was like at a track meet or something like that. Some girls or her father went off and something like, I mean, literally you can't get over the first one until another one happens. And like you said, if we get down to the root of the issue, we don't really want to fix the root of the issue. Like, I believe they have the cure for cancer, but it's such a big cash cow. You know, it's they make more money treating it than they do curing it.
Right.
That's that's a personal,
when it comes down to it, with Anthony and them are important because of the difference in the color of their skin. Because that's part of what drove the narrative of an interest in this particular case. And I gotta let you go because I gotta
sure. But that had nothing to do with, I just want to be clear. Skin
had nothing to do with it. But all I'm saying is that if at the end of the day, if they were both black kids, we never would have heard about it.
Nope,
two
not
white
at all.
kids who stabbed each other under the tent, we never would have heard about it.
Nope.
The only way we might have heard about it is one of them maybe was an immigrant from Mexico or something, or Guatemala, and they stabbed somebody. Then maybe we would have heard about it. But even then, the only interest we're really showing in this particular case is because of the political and social aspects of it. But this case doesn't, it's important to talk about. And I think that it can be a way for us to have deeper conversations about what is self-defense, what contributes to staying your ground, when can you stay your ground, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. But none of that has to do with anything with, what one kid looked like versus what other kids look like.
Nope,
like,
you're absolutely,
that has no place.
You're absolutely, and I know you got to let me go, but I want you to look up this case. It was called the gas station unaliving trial, and Court TV covered it. I watched that entire trial. It was an Asian store owner who said that the kid was stealing water bottles. And I want you to look that one, because that one I don't think had to do with race either. It had to do with, he was profiling him, and I think he was stealing. I think the kid was going in there to steal. You don't walk into a store with an empty book bag. That's me. But I don't believe, we never saw him flash the pow. And y'all chased him. Y'all unalived him, what, like 500 yards away from the store? So y'all chased him down. Anyway, but I still don't think that had to do with race. I just think it was an old guy that owned a store that was suspicious of this young kid. It didn't have anything to do with race. People are playing.
We'll get into it. There are racial.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk later. We will talk later. But anyway, love you, my Take fam. Take it easy.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Awesomeness. We had a super chat come in. Mega super chat from Kay and Gilbertson. $100 super chat. All right. Said in llamas with hats voice. I went to a track meet and started to rain, so I got under a tent where I was supposed to be. Was told to leave. And it got in a shoving match, right? So I pulled a knife and stabbed him in the chest. Karmello, that kills people. All right? They will kill somebody, you hit them in the chest, Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll get into the specifics of it, because I think that story part of it is interesting. Like we'll talk about it. Man, thank you so much, Cam Gilbertson. It's awesome. It just so happened to pull up, started raining, went under tent. Yeah, somebody got hit. Tis what it is. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Oh, next up we have Miss Betty. What's going on, Miss Betty? How you doing?
Hey, sweetie, I missed y'all so much. I'm trying to get back into it. It's just been a heck of a getting the rehab and all that done on my husband. And you look so skinny. Have you lost weight since I saw y'all last?
Yeah, I've been putting off weight. I was a little under.
No, I'm saying you look like you lost a lot, girl.
Yeah.
I say girl, but not in a bad way.
Got sick. Yeah, I'm having some health stuff. So, yep, lost some weight.
Well, bless your heart. I hope everything's good.
Yeah, I can. I'm still alive and kicking. I refuse to go. So,
girl, me too. And even if they put dirt on my stuff, I'm gonna be like, and wait a minute. I'm not done talking because you know me. Well, I'm not going to talk too long because I know you're busy. But I'm so happy I finally got a chance to join everybody. And if I don't see them, hi y'all. I know I look like a turkey because I did take a nap. But on this case, I can see both sides because it's coming from a victim's and from the other.
Mm-hmm.
But from my personal was that we had so many, and this is back in 1990, before social media, before all of it took off. We had people on both sides trying to use it, trying to exploit us. And within a year, the case went away. Nobody remembered. Same thing with this poor child. Both children, actually, within the next big story, it'll be something else. That it will move on. Social media will move on, all that. But before they sentenced this young man, and I know what he did. It was horrible, yes. I would hope that they would have psychologists, like really qualified psychologists, come in, understand his mindset, understand where he's at. I'm not talking about age, because he can be 19 years old and still maybe not have had where he truly understood that what he did, that the results, and people can argue, they're going to argue about it and say 18, he knew what he was doing. Yes, he knew he was going to inflict pain, but the consequences that he's going to have to face now, I would love to have a psychologist before they do that, the sentencing. And you don't just throw away somebody. I mean, like the people that took our family, I wonder what could have changed. Like, and you know, I mean, like, we didn't think of it as a race thing, God, because it was just two men who happened to be black, and the person who turned them in was also black. My son-in-law is also, you know, I mean, he's read the story and he's like, well, you don't, no, I don't hate anyone. Why would I? But I still, even now, even if they're on the other side of it, and all these years, I wonder in my own life, what if we could have reached that child when he was 13, 14, 15 years old before these decisions were taking place? Would the outcome have been different?
Right.
And even, I mean, like I argue with my oldest son constantly. He's very liberal. We get into knockdown, like, but we do it at the dining table. We don't get up. We don't say, okay, I'm done with you, whatever. Like, yeah. We just don't. It's like, no, you're not leaving. I mean, we'll get out of the car, go in the store, yep, all the way through the store, all the way back to the car, steady arguing a point. But I just, you know, so many people nowadays, you don't have those family dinners. You don't discuss things and say, this is a safe space. Like when you leave this table, it's okay to have a different opinion than mine.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No. I mean, I think that it's
but before they sentence this child, they really need to understand where he's at mentally, emotionally. Like, kids act tough all the time. I see them in my neighborhood all the time, walking down the street trying to act tough because, you know, they want to be macho and this and that, and it's what society, like, they're not even allowed to express when they're sad, when they're angry, when they're upset, without some of these other kids going, oh, I'm not going to use the word, but you know what I'm saying, you P word. I wish more and more we would, instead, before it happens, we, in general, we, white, black, Asian, whatever you want to call it, go into neighborhoods maybe you don't understand. Go in there, find out. And I'm not being smug about it or being like, I'm so special. It's really not. It's just, I grew up in Memphis, and like Orange Mound was a spot that was probably one of the poorest and still is one of the poorest areas that you can go to in Memphis. So rather than, and they're not given a chance simply because when they put down where they're at, like judged before they're even allowed to get a job. So
Right.
maybe if we as a society could say, you know what, we created this. It's, the change has to start with going into these neighborhoods every day. Like,
Well, I mean, I think that it's not just the racial
I'm sorry, I
component.
did not mean to do that.
Even as we talk about like the racial side of it, part of the reason why we don't have, because we are becoming more integrated, which makes it a lot more difficult for these divisions a lot of times to take root, which is why social media is pushing so hard to create deeper divisions between us, because the information that we have and the associations we have with one another have as an older person, like I said, you've been around long enough, you've seen things at least 2-3 times. I was around during a time when the country was extremely segregated, not legally segregated, but socially we were segregated. There was the black neighborhood, the white neighborhoods were broken down. It wasn't even white neighborhoods. It was the Irish neighborhood. The Polacks had their own sections. The Ukrainians had their sections. The Italians had their sections, and nobody messed with nobody. You understand what I mean? Like even in the Latino community, you had the Mexicans were different than the Puerto Ricans. The Puerto Ricans was different than the Guatemalans and the South Americans. Dominicans ain't messed with nobody. Everybody was broke up. But now we've reached a point where we're starting to coalesce and become more familiar with each other. And you know, whether through dating or whatever the case may be, we're more familiar with each other. So that's why I think that when you have things like social media websites or YouTube channels that are pushing this divide, they're going against the grain and trying to undo a lot of that progress that we've made over the last 30, 40 years.
Amen to that, because I'm telling you, like I've told you before, and I'll tell anyone, when you come to my house, you leave race, religion, and politics at the door. I don't want them in my home. Now, when I talk about politics, it's usually just generally me and my kids that will get into arguments and knock down, drag out while we're dips and chip, because I want them to feel free to have their opinion. But when I have a large gathering, no, I'm sorry, that's not a free space because too much can happen. Emotions run high, and my emotions especially, because I'll be like, have you lived their life? Have you walked in? I mean, like, have you walked in their shoes? Have you, like, my mom was a single mom. She, God rest her soul, did the best she knew how to do. But, like, we didn't have a father in my house. And, hell, I might have snuck out. I mean, and she never knew. I mean, I was one of them I was a bad kid. Not, I didn't fight back, but I mean, like, sneaking out and doing things I should not have been doing at 16, 17, but, which helped me because then I was able to tell my kids, you know, it's like, you can't get past me, girl. I already know. I've been there, done that. Meanwhile, my husband, God love him, was so innocent. He's like, what? But he had a nuclear family that had a mother and father. So, I mean, I wish people would kind of sometimes look at that if you have a single parent, men and women, not just one, that they have to go to work, they have to raise their children, they're doing the best they can do, and you can't always be there. But it used to be that you could count on your community to kind of to pick up and kind of like the village. And we don't have that anymore. We just don't. A lot of things people do are they react to something on social media instantly.
Right.
They,
Well, I mean, I think that
you
you're
know,
also getting
and
the financial or economics of it, where before there
oh,
might have been you might have had somebody who had one, maybe two jobs, Whereas now you're almost required to have 3-4 jobs. And because there is so
Let me
much
tell you,
emphasis
if
placed
you
on
don't have insurance,
individualism, you have a situation where people aren't necessarily worried about their neighbors because they're too busy trying to take care of their own households.
oh, you're right about that. Because I mean, thank God for insurance. But I mean, some of these families, I mean, like I've met people because being out in the community that they have the Medicaid, Medicare, but to get a doctor that will accept it, they may be on a 3-month waiting list to get in to see what's going on. And by the time they get through those 3 months, it could be fatal. Now,
Right.
we do have insurance because my husband, knock on wood, works, but just we were aghast at the price that it cost. I mean, he had 2 skin grafts on his foot, and for each skin graft was $8,000.
Right.
$8,000 for that. Now our insurance, thank God, because he'd been in and out of hospital and stuff, so it covered it. But I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, what if you had Medicaid, Medicare, and you're having to wait, and they're not going to cover that procedure? They don't deem it necessary. So
Well,
I
you
just
gotta make
wonder how
life.
many.
That's I mean, that's the reality of it. I gotta let you go, but yeah,
Oh,
that's
I'm sorry, baby. I did not mean to keep yapping.
no worries.
I know
No worries.
people are waiting. Tell them I apologize. I love y'all, and I'm just so happy to get to see you, and you look wonderful.
Oh, thank you. You're trying to
All right,
hold
bye,
it together
sweetheart.
with spit and butter tape, spit and scotch tape.
Well, you look wonderful. I love you, and I'm so happy to get to see you. That's all I got to say. I'm so happy to see
I
y'all.
say hello. Hopefully he's doing well.
Oh yeah, he gets his new shoes tomorrow. The doctor cleared him to actually walk. So
Okay.
we went from 60% chance of losing his leg to he's walking and has lost 85 pounds. We got 15 more to go.
Wow. Okay. Lost a person. Okay.
Well, I love y'all, and I'll talk to you later, baby.
All right. Have a good one.
You too, sweetheart. I love you.
Love you too. Awesome. Miss Betty calling in. Hot damn. We had Neglet 3 with the My Take on Reality membership. The memberships are important because, well, maybe not important, but they're fun because we have members only live that we do on Saturdays where folks can call in, get their opinions on. That's where folks can really call in and let loose as far as their opinions. And we have open discussions. Talk a lot. Saturday conversation is actually pretty deep. But it's a great opportunity to get to know the community. And Negla's keeping the party going. So let's give Negla a little something. Negla be there, with a little chin. Oh, yeah. Ruth Carroll, no offense intended. Polish, please, not Polacks. I apologize. That's something I grew up with just because we had one of my miracle guys, immigrants. This guy was him and his brothers. They were called the Pole Brothers, right? And we used to talk and chat with them, and that's the phrase they would use. But them guys working miracles. It was working miracles. That was, man, I wish I had them guys again. Them guys were amazing. But yeah, no disrespect on that. Thank you for your correction. Next up, we got Ty in the house. What's going on, Ty? How you doing?
Oh, hey, y'all. Hey, that was unexpected. How y'all doing tonight? How you doing, James?
just when you least expect it, you jump in there.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
I guess I got an ad. Okay, I guess I had an ad come through. I don't even have ads. I pay for premium. It's crazy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, all right. So I kind of wanted to give some context about, I know we were talking about the Karmello Anthony Austin Metcalf case and kind of what's going on. And I wanted to just, for being a person that lives in the area, kind of shine a little light on how things kind of are. So I live in Dallas. I'm in central Dallas. I live in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
This happened in Frisco. So this is going to be north of Dallas. And we also have south of Dallas. So kind of south of Dallas is kind of more of your not so great area, I guess you would say. To me, it's the hood. It's fine, but past that part, we have what we call Black excellence in some lower parts of the suburbs. Okay, but if you go up north, we're talking about pretty coin, like nice coin. You're doing great for yourself. You're doing amazing, and I think that's why I think in Dallas, in the area, why we were so like, oh no, no, for this family, because we know that whatever they were doing, they was doing everything right. And when you looked at the stats on these kids and what happened, it's just the worst case scenario that could ever happen. I think we've all been in a little tussle or fight or something, but I don't know. I've never ever had anything get to the point to where weapons were drawn or anything like that. And when I talk about like, I feel so bad because I know that this young man, when I go to Karmello, because his family is like, when you think about Black excellence and what you kind of strive for and what you kind of want and want to work towards, you could kind of see that in his family. And you've seen that this kid was a great kid and everything was going great for him. And this one thing, this 15 seconds of his life just took that all out. And it just blows my mind that this young man is going to have to spend the rest of his life probably behind bars where he wasn't prepared for it. This isn't like some bad kid that was street bound or anything. Like, neither one of them were. These are both great athletes and great kids. And to see how this happened and where it happened was also kind of like, what the heck? Nothing happens in Frisco. Frisco's like boring almost. You just kind of go out there for concerts and stuff. But to know that this happened in such a prominent area, that was part of it. And two, to see this. And so the race kind of came into play is that we see somebody that was trying to do well. And it's like, no matter how hard we try, we fall back into the same old trap sometimes. And I know that's not a good way to look at it. I'm not trying to think about it that way, but I just cried all day thinking about this baby and what he's about to be faced with, because his parents did everything to keep him from going down that path. And just know that this is what's going to happen ultimately. It's so sad.
Right. Well, again, I don't necessarily want to get specific, but I will say this. I think that there are certain pressures that we propagate as a society, especially here in America, because we kind of have as much as we try to pretend that we don't, we have like this gunslinger, Wild West type, clearing the bar scene, everything can be solved with violence mentality. And even if you grow up in a quiet suburbanite neighborhood or suburbanite or suburban light neighborhood, you still try to emulate that. So you still have guys who, act tough or talk tough and never been in real situations. You have guys who will be confronted and respond how they think somebody should respond in this situation. But like you said, they're not prepared to deal with the ramifications of those decisions.
Right.
What happens after this? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so if I poke a kid, it's not going to stop. Like, the situation just doesn't stop because I poked them. And then all of a sudden, day two, it's like The Simpsons. Everybody pretends like it didn't happen. I have to deal with whatever I did.
Yeah.
And even to your point of like that level of violence, this is what I was saying the other day when I was talking about people not necessarily understanding how wonderful, marvelous, strong, and incredible the human body is, but at the same time, how fragile it can be. And when it comes down to it, you could call yourself defending yourself or being a tough guy. But one of the things that I'll give you a little preview. One of the things that I was going to talk about when I talk about this case, whether we like it or not, or whether we appreciate it or not, whether we feel bad for Austin and his brother or not, this case could have gone either way.
Yeah.
What do I mean by that? Obviously, it went one way because Karmello Anthony pulled a knife, poked Austin, put him down. He out of here. But it could have went the other way because both Austin and his brother outweigh this kid by almost anywhere from 60 to 80 pounds apiece. So you're looking at so technically, if it would have gotten physical, you would have had this young man potentially fighting 3 adults. You know what I mean? Austin, his brother, and a phantom dude that they bring with him because of the weight difference.
Right.
And anybody who would ever sit here and say that weight doesn't make a difference, don't understand contact sports, don't understand sports of violence, even sports of violence. So if you are wrestling, if you are boxing, you're doing martial arts, you're doing fencing to some degree, there are maybe not fencing, but there are weight categories for a reason. They're not going to have, I've heard debates and discussions about what happens if Floyd Mayweather, prime Floyd Mayweather, whatever, meet and fight prime Mike Tyson.
Ooh.
Floyd Mayweather would go out of that ring in a box, is what would happen.
Yes.
He would leave in a box because as fast and as skillful as Floyd Mayweather is, his punches would be completely ineffective because Mike Tyson outweighs him by so much. And 2, Mike Tyson ain't got to hit him a whole bunch of times. He only got to catch him 1 or 2 good times, and that's a wrap. And when you're talking about a 60 to 80 pound weight difference between a track guy and a football guy, that shit matters. So that fight, if it would have gone down the wrong way, you would have different kids sitting on trial right now. And they would be facing life in prison.
Well,
they would be facing this type of charge. So it's not as clean cut. I appreciate the fact that you're saying that, it's even folks talking about these cats aren't fully boiled, and people not appreciating the realities of what it is you're actually engaged in.
Yeah. I think murder was just a little much, maybe manslaughter. It was an accident. I don't know. There's a part of me that the mother in me is just coming. No, please. I guess and for both of them, all we can do is teach our kids to keep their hands to themselves and let's not fight. And but they're gonna do that anyway. So I don't know, James. This is just a hard case for me.
Well, I mean, it comes down, like I said, it comes down to the cultural aspect. We have to do a better job of raising our kids better.
Yeah.
We have to, do a better job of teaching nonviolence as a way of, violence is not a solve for problems.
Right.
Understanding that violence isn't just limited to, again, give a little preview, but violence isn't just limited to the physical accosting, because I am a bigger guy. I've said this before.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. I am 6'7". I've always been a big dude, right? And I understand it. Growing up as a bigger guy, my dad, when he first started teaching me how to box, when he first started teaching me martial arts, when he first started teaching me how to defend myself, one of the key things, first thing he said is, first lesson he said, just enough to get your ass whipped effectively.
Dang, that's awesome. We got some work to do.
Yeah, you know just enough to get beat up properly. But he just said that the last thing you ever want to do when you're dealing with people, it's actually weird for me to say that I had this type of training, because that's actually one of the things that he said. You never tell people that you did this kind of stuff.
Yes,
because people want to try you out and they want to test you on it. And you more importantly, you never want people to be afraid of you.
Right.
Because when people are afraid of you and they're fearful of you, that's when, especially as a bigger guy, because I've been in fights where people have pulled stuff. So, or disagreements, we'll say physical disagreements, where people have pulled things. Everything from sticks, pipes, bats, shovels to pew-pews, knives and pew-pews.
Okay.
Right? And when push comes down to shove, they do that because they're afraid.
Yep.
And they don't want to take a loss. When people have these types of weapons, they're afraid. And if 2 guys come up to you and they outweigh you by a significant amount of thing, there you could put fear in that guy's heart. He's going to respond fearfully. And that's how things happen. Now, I will say this with the caveat. I do think sometimes weapons will give people false senses of security.
Okay.
Because would Karmello have stood there and argued with them two big ass kids if
Probably
he didn't
not.
have a poker in his bag? Probably not. I
Probably.
bet you he wouldn't have. He'd have moved his ass out from under that tent. So I mean, we have to address that as well. So, but I mean, I think that, like you said, I think that this is a tragedy all the way around. This isn't just, Karmello Anthony is just some kind of rabid animal who's just walking around looking to hurt people. This is a kid who made a shit decision in a shitty situation. And now he's going to have to deal with the consequences of that decision, whether we agree with it or not.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you, James. That's all I wanted to say. And
I appreciate the context. And again, when I do the live about, talking about the case in particular, your insight could be very valuable because I'm not familiar with the area. From what I understand, I think Karmello's family is from a well-heeled section of Dallas.
I believe they're in the Frisco area as well, which is very well to do. Very well to do.
Right.
So yeah, when you get there, I kind of explain it more because there's thoughts amongst the community about it. Like, do we really want to move up north? Do we really want to move to Frisco? Do we want to go south and put our dollars into, other community? But we have to that's more of a different type of that's more of a local situation.
No, I got you. Do you build up what you got or you try to invest in somebody else's? I got you.
Exactly. So, it kind of was like twofold. Like, we told y'all not to go out there, but, at the same time, it's like, we're just trying to support as much as we can. And it's, we try to, but this brings awareness. This shines a whole different light on how we instruct our kids moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we are Texans. We live in Texas. One thing you can guarantee you're going to see when you walk into a Texan's home is protection. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, and you mentioned that earlier. That's a very it's almost like it's second nature. It's not even a thought to us. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So him having his EDC is what we would consider that. It didn't dawn on me like, oh yeah, we all have those. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that's that's normal. That's what we use to open up our Amazon boxes.
Right.
It didn't like. I was like, oh, and because everyone else was seeing it as a different thing, and I had to take that out. Like, okay, yeah, I can see how that was not probably proper for him to have that.
Well, see, and that's one of the things that I want to talk to. I gotta let you go, but that is one of the things that I do want to address is that because, like I said, I spent a lot of time when I was a youth down in the southern states, and I'm saying, like, culturally, a pocket knife in a young man's pocket is not out of bounds. Like, that is not uncommon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could walk out, like, especially when I was a kid, you could walk out, pick up a rock and throw a stone and hit 5 kids who got knives in their pocket.
Yeah.
Right. Just like the availability of, like, up here in the northeast, if I was walking down the street and I saw a guy drive by in a pickup truck and he had shotguns in the back, I'm calling the cops.
Oh, wow.
But if you down south, you see a guy riding around, you wouldn't think twice about it.
No, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't raise eyebrow. Hell, I've been, like, you go to some southern states up here, you see a guy open carrying, calling the cops. Dudes in there ain't gonna rob the place. You go down south,
it's normal. I'm in Walmart. We're in Walmart.
Like they on gun smoke. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's strapped up.
We ready. It's all, it's all the time. It's not a thing to us. We see people, everywhere.
It's a cultural thing. It's not so even when that was used as like he was definitely looking for trouble because he had this. I beg to differ. No. Unless the culture down there has changed significantly from when I was down there, this is not like half the kids under that tent might have had one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They could have literally had West Side Story out there, everybody knife fight.
Yeah, or something more in their car. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah. And in fairness, just as a last point, I'll make this last point. In fairness, we also have to understand it's not just the fact that they have them and it's a cultural difference, but there's also an educational difference.
Yes.
Because if you go to southern states and they talk about like firearms and things of that nature, pew pews, or however we're allowed to say it on YouTube, their education and how they deal with it and instruct their kids is completely different than how a lot of northern states do it. Like
Okay.
in the north, especially northeast and the west coast states, they tend to treat those types of activities as like the sacred cow. You don't really talk about if you expose your kid to it. It's almost a secret. You'll have it in the house. It'll be locked up. They can't get it. They don't know where it is. They don't know what the combinations are. They don't have their own. Down south, there are places where the kids not only have the combinations, they have their own. They have their own ammunition, and they take care of it because they grew up with it, and they have a certain level of responsibility with it because they were educated to
Yes.
have that responsibility and respect for those items. So
I know you're finna go. I know you're finna go. I just want to tell you, I live on a corner of a range. I'm gonna call it a range. We I frequent sometimes. They've even offered to, we're starting classes for, 8, maybe 13 to give them the knowledge of. They won't be utilizing, but giving them the awareness of, for if you keep one in a home and stuff like that, just
Right.
making them aware. So I was like, it's almost like second. It's common. It's just common here. So, but
Right,
I'll let you go. And thank you, James, for listening to me, making me feel a little bit better. And
thank you for calling in. I appreciate you. I'll be looking forward to your phone call.
yes,
Like I said, I do like the I like to put things in the context. So it's not just my Northeast understanding of what they should be doing, but it's also what's happening on the ground and how what's the culture there.
Yes,
I think is critical, especially as we move away from like some of the superfluous conversations.
of course.
It's too easy. It's too easy,
You have a good evening. I'll be in the chat, y'all.
All right, thank you so much, Ty. I appreciate you. All right, Ty. Ty comes through on Saturdays too. Yeah, I just like when it comes to a lot of that stuff, I will share this. I've been trained in FA fire, pew pew safety, concealed carry, tactical training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And one of my instructors, he talked about, he addressed, at the time I didn't have kids, but he said, for you family people and people with kids, he actually encouraged people to let the kids know what you have. And the only way, like for instance, the only way it would be permissible for them to see it or look at it, they come to them first. If you're curious about it, you come to me. We'll sit down. We'll talk about it. I will show you as many times as you want to see it. I'll show it to you. But the only time you get to look at it, touch it, smell it, or anything is in my presence. And the whole idea, mentality behind that was he wanted to try to take the mystery and the wonderment out of that particular tool for curious eyes. And that's kind of where it is. And I think that with a lot, especially like I said, in certain communities, there is the thing where you keep it hidden. And so when your kid go in there and go through your drawers and they find it, all of a sudden it's the secret sauce. And hey guys, guess what? Let me show you something cool. And that's when accidents happen and terrible things happen. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's just a cultural difference, sometimes training different, education difference. And what is this? I live in Brittany, not Brittany. What's going on? Oh, if you guys could log into the Brittany and Carmel Kitties, go to the My Take on Reality Live. I wanted to add you guys over there. Lizzie, you're added already as moderators. But I live in the South. Just about everyone carries. I had to explain that to a coworker from up north when someone was open carrying in the store. Yeah. You go down south, like I said, they strapped up, man. If you're not from that community or you're not familiar with that culture, it could be discerning. Like you be standing like because I remember I was in a auto parts store, and a guy came in. He had a 4.5, It was nice, you know. I recognized it off the rip, but I was like, oh, and you see it and you're not expecting it because you're up north and you don't expect that kind of stuff. It'll throw you. Like, this dude about to rob the store. But then at the same time, if he gonna rob the store, he ain't gonna have it in his holster. You know what I'm saying? Like, we use some kind of quick draw, all that stuff in there. Like, give me all the money in the register. I'm gonna give you a chance. Like, that's not how it go down. All right. But we have one more phone call, and I'm gonna have to rip. But Linda, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little confused. So we talking about the case? We're not talking about the case. I had to go up and do some quick homework reading.
Okay.
And from the things that I gleaned, I just saw that he was found guilty. He is they're actually deliberating his punishment as we speak. They've just like did it immediately, which I thought was a little unusual. I've never heard of a deliberation for the sentencing going so quick. But
yeah.
You know, from what I'm reading, I don't know that their one report said they couldn't even get the story straight because of what happened under the tent. But apparently this kid didn't live in Texas his whole life. He had lived in Louisiana. So I think Baton Rouge, which is a pretty tough area. But if everyone carries in Texas like that, so they shouldn't make a big deal that he had a knife. Obviously, that's something that they walk around with protection. But my thing is, I think this is just a stupid fight that just escalated into something it shouldn't have. Now, I don't know any more context. Like, did these kids know each other from previous meets? Did they not like each other?
The whole thing is that, well, okay, just to address it point to point. I wasn't necessarily going to get into the specifics of this particular case at this moment. I was merely talking about like the fact that they were trying to place it into a racial animus case.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're trying to say that because Metcalf was white and because Karmello Anthony was black, that this case should achieve national stardom because of the victim, the makeup of the victim and the accused. With regard to like how people carry, like the reality of it is that in Texas, you're allowed to carry, as with many states in the union, you're allowed to carry a folding knife up to 5.5 inches.
Damn, that's some damage. Shit.
Yeah, they don't consider that like a fighting weight, like fighting knife. A 3.5, like the knife Anthony had was a 3.5. That would be like a deer slayer, like a little skinning knife.
Well, that's actually legal in New York. NYPD, yeah, it's got to be under 4 inches, so that would be legal in New York.
Because it's not a knife that typically people would like. If you were a knife fighter, you wouldn't pick up a 3.5-inch blade.
No, that's a toothpick.
And do that. You would pick up something a little more durable because it's just not like the shot that. Here's the crazy thing. Everybody is kind of going off of this, like, oh, he plunged in his chest, and of course he killed him. Yeah, but I don't think people necessarily understand the skill that it takes in order for you to do that to somebody. That's not an easy task. That's a once in a, like, there's stories. I was about to reveal something that I didn't want to reveal, but there are stories of police officers who have training, firearms training, and they'll be chasing somebody, and they're lined up, 3-point stance, perfect shooter position. They're shooting at a guy who's fleeing with a firearm, and they're missing the whole time. Bang, 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 missing. The guy will be running full tilt, throw his weapon over his shoulder, and shoot the guy, hit him right between the damn eyes. Like, it's just a 1 in a million shot that nobody ever. He couldn't plan that shit. And I think that when push them down the shove, I don't think that Karmello Anthony, in my personal opinion, and just assessment of the case, I think he wanted to back him up. I think he wanted to hurt him. He had full intention to hurt him, but I don't think his first thought was, I'm gonna put this dude in the dirt.
Yeah, well, based on everything I'm reading, it probably not, because in one of the reports that I read, it like no one could get the real story because it was under the tent. And the shit is, I mean, the tent was just for one team and it wasn't for another. Like, where is the sportsmanship? So it sounded like these two were in a pissing contest. And however the kid felt, in a moment of anger. And sometimes you land that $1 million shot. I'm
Right.
just glad that when, my day when I was fighting, you know, I left scars, but thank God I didn't land that $1 million shot, because right now we wouldn't be having this conversation,
Right.
but I don't know, man. I'm telling you, the devil's loose, and like I catch myself getting really going from 0 to 1,000 for something that's so little. And I'm very proud to say I just like take a deep breath. I'm like, let me walk away, because I'm not trying to retire to Rikers. But these are young, they're full of hormones, and it is just a tragedy any way you look at it. And I didn't like, I saw that, but I'm like, I really, when I saw these things, Karmello Anthony, I have to wait, the basketball player, and then I looked and I didn't even pay it no mind. Like, this was not on my radar.
Right.
I was not, and it was showing up on my feed. But since New York, now we don't have news, and newscasters, like, we don't get news barely get news what's happening in New York and around the world, let alone what's happening in the other states. So unfortunately, it's social media. And a lot of times I'm picking and choosing what I'm reading. And I did see it and I saw it, and it was just, when I tell you it was not on my radar, it was not on my radar.
Right. Well, I mean, that's part of the problem, is that I don't even mind so much, because like I said, if it was 2 black kids, 2 white kids, 2 Hispanic kids, or Latino kids, nobody would be talking about this shit. It would have went, like, it would have got swept under the rug. It just would have been an unfortunate case in Frisco. But because of the racial makeup, it became national news. Now, because it became national news, regardless of why it was national news, it's national news. And once it becomes national news, I disagree with the fact or idea that the only people who are really trying to report on it are people from YouTube, like myself. I'm going to throw myself in the bucket. But we're the only ones reporting on it and trying to do, give both a full description of it. And there's too much room for bias to come into the situation. What we need to have happen is we need to hear the facts, not what people's opinions are or what people are asserting. Now, I will say this. There was a couple points in here where people were talking about the tents. I ran track in high school. Track, field, cross country.
Yeah, like, could you tell me, like, was this like the Omar the tent maker's tent? Because as far as I know, a damn tent is an awning, right?
Right, it's a tent. Like, so
An
each school
awning.
had a tent for like rain or in cases where it's super sunny. Now, to be very clear, the culture, which is what I was talking about earlier, like the culture of having a knife, the culture of carrying particular items.
So that was normal. So
It's
you
the
can't even
cultural-
say he was looking for trouble, because it's normal.
Right. Well, I mean, in track sports are different.
No.
Each sport
I
is
mean,
more-
the location, like, he's in Texas and that's what they walk with. Now, if it was in New York or, Philly, it would be
I mean,
a
as far as
problem.
the
Right. So
knife
there's
is
the
concerned.
culture.
Yes. What I'm talking about is the tent specifically, the location. So
Right.
if you are playing football is a far more aggravating adversarial game. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, I had kids who I do kids, I coached football and I coached baseball, like Little League baseball at one point, right?
Right.
In the community. And
Okay.
when you go to the baseball games, the families are all there. Everybody's enjoying themselves. They got the little food hut and the drink hut, and everybody's talking. You announce. Sometimes I used to do the announcements. I used to big up the kids, like, say their names like they coming out under the lights, and hey, coming to the bat next is John Johnson.
Yeah, make them feel special.
Get them all hyped up, and everybody's happy and shit. After the game is over, everybody high-fiving each other. It's more of a community activity. Football game, you got 90-year-old women standing on the sideline, somebody hit somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you hear. It's just a difference in mentality. When you go to track and field, you see most of these teams you are familiar with loosely because you compete the whole way. So each team, you'll have, say, 5 or 6 schools which are competing against each other, and they'll go to one location, they'll compete that same 5 or 6 schools will go to another location. They'll compete. And a lot of times you develop friendships and camaraderies with people from different schools. So for them to have a tent, it's not out of place for you to walk under a different team's tent.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out. All right.
Yeah, it's not home base like we have to protect the fort. That's not how track and field works. That's not the culture of track and field. So the idea that him just simply being in his tent created this huge problem.
Yeah.
In itself a problem. And I'll talk about it more specifically during
that's what doesn't make sense to me. I mean, where's the sportsmanship? If someone went under your tent because it's raining, why are you picking an argument? You know, that doesn't make sense. But
Right.
You're right. You're right. At any opportunity, you know, with the atmosphere that we're living in, they will try to make something this big racial thing. And I don't understand. They went for, I guess, for New York murder 1 and not manslaughter. It's like they just went full hog real quick. Not, you know, wow. It's just incredible. I feel sorry for both parents, but it's something to.
Yeah, it's a terrible situation for everybody involved. And like you said, I mean, I think that what it comes down to is part of the reason why I'm tagging it. And I say that, to Ruth Carroll, it would have been national news because it was a school. I agree. I disagree. And the only reason I disagree is because, like I said, if we cared so much about violence in schools, then we would talk about more extensively about school shootings.
Yeah.
I remember there was a couple times we had school. The only time they talk about school shootings now is if the person involved is trans or they have some kind of political affiliation. Now we don't even talk about schools anymore. I remember when Barack Obama was in office and they went in and killed, like for the first time, they went in and killed kindergartners. And nobody, like we talked about that and they couldn't help but rush out and talk about how it was a fake false flag and
Oh my God, yeah.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like the whole idea that we care about violence in schools, it just sounds hollow to me, because if we actually did care about violence in schools, then we would actually be doing something about it as opposed to prayers. That's just my opinion on it. But so
let me ask you, the information I'm not getting, I'm getting confused. Did this happen at a track meet or a football meet?
Track meet.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, it was a track meet, which is and this is the thing too. Like nobody goes. I've never even seen a. And
I haven't seen anyone argue. The only one I see yelling at track meets are coaches.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody, but I've never seen anybody get into a fist fight, much less a thing where like, oh shit, he might not make it. Like that's just not the culture of track meets. Like people get upset sometimes. And I remember there was one point where I was running cross country and I had a guy try to push me down a mountain. I was pissed about that. But it wasn't like, even after we finished the race, I wasn't running out looking for the kid. Like it's just, it's just a different, like I said, it's a different culture. It's just a different culture. Like if you said to me like it was a football game, a basketball game, and a track meet, 2 kids got into it, one of them may make it out. Track would not be at the top.
No, that wouldn't be the one I'd pick either.
Yeah, you had to put money on it, James. Which one do you think it was? I would be like, yeah, it's probably them track guys because they out of control. Like it's just not. Most of the guys are chill anyway. Like they're not those people.
I don't know. It sounds like these two knew each other and had beef.
Well, I don't think the Metcalf boys knew him, but he did know somebody from what I gathered from some of the testimony that came out. Anthony actually knew some of the kids who went to the school in the tent that he was sitting in.
So then that shouldn't have been a problem.
Right. I mean, it's like I said, the case is way more complicated than just black kid, white kid, somebody dead, now we should be pissed off. Like this case is way more complicated.
I don't know. Was like Metcalf a bully and they're hiding that? That's crazy.
See, again, this is information that was kind of pushed out by social media. I can't confirm nor deny that that's the case.
No, I'm doing a logical. I'm just trying to think logically because it doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, that was one of the things that was pushed out initially, that between him and his brother, that they were active. They were actively aggressive in school towards other students. So if there are bullies, and that's kind of the thing too. Like when we talk about like the machismo factor,
Mm-hmm.
if you have somebody who, you know, the one thing bullies don't like is to get embarrassed, and they don't like
Yep.
somebody sticking up to them. And so it could have went left just because of that, you know. And there's like I said, mistakes were made, and into a bigger point, I say this because I
And there were
remember.
no adults around to de-escalate anything. Like, where were the coaches and the teachers?
Well, I
Not,
mean, but that's also part of, like I said, that's part of the culture of track. Like there should have been coaches and adults underneath each one of the tents,
yeah.
but because it's track and because the kids will talk to each other and interact with each other, most of the coaches aren't sitting around trying to regulate who's coming in and out of the tents.
No, I mean, I thought the
Aren't
coaches would
police-
be sitting there too. It was pouring rain. I don't know, man.
I mean, most of them coaches are talking to each other. Yeah, I mean, like it's just like I said, it's a different culture. Like track and field is different,
Yeah.
you know. And track, yeah, Ty said track takes forever. Yeah, it's a whole day affair. Like, so you get there early as hell. For those who don't know, especially for meets, you get there early as hell. They have
You're there all day.
the events the same damn day, and it takes all day for you to get through all the heats, and then they have the finals and stuff. Like, it's an all day affair. You're there all day, and like for them to not be prepared for the rain, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll talk about.
Now you gave me homework to read up on this now.
Yeah. It's an interesting case because just to give you maybe some cliff notes on what I'll be talking about, it'll center around like the issue of self-defense. When are we going to normalize or standardize, not normalize, but when are we going to standardize what attributes to self-defense?
Yeah.
Because it seems like in every case that I come across, self-defense is always up in the air. Like as a citizen, this is part of the reason why I say we're a people
like it's subjective
thing. When it comes to like me making a decision, I should be able to understand what my rights are, what my freedoms are, what my ability is, without having to ask a whole bunch of questions. So if I'm talking, like if I'm faced with a thing, I should know that I'm about to break the law. And it shouldn't be a thing of, oh, is this self-defense? Because, you know, like as Negla pointed out with the one store, it's like Trayvon Martin was walking through the street, had a
I remember. Oh my God, I remember.
And a iced tea. He's walking down the street. He gets followed by a guy, chased by a guy who has a firearm. When worst case scenario for George Zimmerman,
no, that's someone who should have gotten murdered.
And tries to whip his ass because he's following him, and because of that, all of a sudden Trayvon Martin provoked the fight, and he deserved to die.
Yeah. Now, if someone who should have gotten murdered should have been him. Right. But I'm a sidebar on something you said because you just touched on something. So, hospitals in New York are all getting metal detectors. My hospital was the last one, and when administration said, all right, this is going to happen and we're taking everything. Now in New York, like I said, it's legal to have a blade 4 inches and under. You could have pepper spray or you could have mace. You can't have bear mace. There are things that we can have. And when they put the list, they were taking everything from us and not giving it back. Now I take an express bus. I'm in an okay neighborhood. My neighborhood where I work is not okay because we have the homeless shelters. We have all kinds of stuff where we could be in danger. We have the patients from Rikers, which is the local jail. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. You need to be taking that shit from maybe patients or telling them they can't come in with that. But a lot of the staff has to take trains. We have different schedules. Someone's going to be on the train at 3:00 in the morning. They need to have protection. So the first time when I went through with my mace, it didn't beep. The second time, because we've only gotten it recently, it beeped. And I'm like, why did it beep? I put it in the same place. So then you got to get your bag checked. So when I go to the bag check, I got a soft-hearted guy that was like so upset that he had to check my bag because he goes, you guys are here saving lives. You should be allowed to protect yourselves. And I found that and it's not hospital police because now we have extra security because they can't get hospital police. Like New York City Health and Hospitals has their own police.
Mm.
And I found that very funny that he said that. So we had a town hall meeting today, and someone submitted the question, and they all got sheepish because it was the chief executive officer, the COO, and somebody else. They said, well, we're revisiting the policies. We put it to central office, and we're going to be talking to the precinct because we've gotten, you know, a lot of complaints from staff that a lot of this is protection for when they're out there commuting. So it's just normalizing what you can use for self-defense. That's what it speaks to. And if you're within the law of what you can carry as self-protection, that should never be an issue, and that should never be brought up in court.
Mm.
Just saying. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I just think that, like, at the end of the day, it has to be like we have to get to a point where we normalize what it is so that everybody understands what it is and whether they're breaking the law or not. Because if like I said with Trayvon Martin, if I'm running from a guy who's chasing me,
that's murder.
and I attack him, and he gets to assault me or kill me, and he gets self-defense. But if I'm running from a store, like in the case of the one boy that got shot in the back,
yeah,
running from a store, I don't brandish a weapon. I don't have a weapon. I get shot in the back. That's still he gets self-defense. But if I get surrounded by 2 or 3 guys and I feel threatened, like I feel like I'm in fear of my life,
right,
if I defend myself, I can't claim self-defense. Like, we have to get to a point where we normalize what does self-defense
entail.
You're right. Well, I go to jail if I do this. I'm not going to jail.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the whole thing. You should never be in a situation where you're getting surprised.
Yeah.
At trial. Like, I should never be in a situation where I go to trial and I don't know whether they're going to accept my self-defense claim or not.
I don't know, but that was one of the first things that I saw in one of the articles, that the self-defense was not going to fly. Like, that's the first thing that they got rid of. And this is just reading this, because I know what this is, just reading it in like maybe the first 20 minutes when you started. So, right. And everything is different. The reporting, it's like no one got a clear indication of what the hell happened.
Right.
You know?
I mean, part of that too is, like I said, that's why we needed a public trial. Because it does rise to the level of people are curious about it and people need to understand what happened.
So when you say public trial, so I'm not the only one where this wasn't on the radar?
Well, it's not necessarily that it wasn't notified, but the judge had closed the courtroom basically, and he wouldn't allow for video to be taken. He wouldn't allow gavel to gavel decisions to be made in public. So basically, this was a secret trial that occurred that has public or broad-based ramifications. So people want to go like kind of rush to their own little corners and find the information that feels good to them about what they believe and why they believe it happened.
Right.
But it doesn't give us the full glimpse of what actually happened, what they said, and why the jury ruled the way they did. And I think that is more of a disservice, because you can make the arguments. I understand the arguments about these are kids who are going to testify as witnesses, but this is bigger than the fact. This isn't a sexual assault case. If this was a case where,
so it shouldn't have been close. So that's why you mean that was close. It was close, like it was a sexual assault case.
Huh?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I get it even more.
So it's not that kind of case. This is just a case where it was a fight that went horribly wrong, and now we're saying it was a
racial.
And so we should be able to hear the evidence that came in and why people are saying what they say and why the jury ruled the way it did. And that would help to alleviate a lot of the problems. More information is always better than less information.
Absolutely.
Which goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of the stream, that this is part of the reason why the founding fathers of our country had deemed it appropriate that the First Amendment that we have, not protection of guns and the right to a jury trial, the First Amendment you have is all about information and association.
Got it.
You have freedom of speech, to speak against the government, to say what's going on with the government without fear of reprisal from the government, the ability to be able to disseminate that information so that you can let your fellow citizenry know what's going on in your system of government, as well as the ability to associate with the people and have free association so that way you can get with people of like mind so that you can make necessary changes to said government. That's
Right.
why we have the First Amendment in place the way we do.
I know it sounds like that family better get a good lawyer to get the appeal in real quick and have everything reviewed, because the fact that the judge just closed that, that's a little sus. Because are you closing it because you didn't want to make it a spectacle, or did you close it because you wanted to get this kid in jail super quick?
Right. Well, I mean, it does feel like, I mean, to be honest with you, I've never heard of, I know it's possible, but I'm not really hyper familiar, because they started the case, believe it was on Thursday. They did
Yeah.
They did,
So
1 day of testimony on Friday. Then they did a second day of testimony and closed the prosecution's case on
that's just
Saturday.
too damn quick.
And then on Monday,
On a Saturday. Okay.
yeah, on Monday, the defense started their case. And then by Monday afternoon, they had closed their case. Then they did closing arguments, I think, this morning. And then they have their jury, and they sequestered the jury. So basically told the jury that they can't go home until they come up with a decision.
Absolutely. And they came with the decision, and now they sent them back, and they have to come back with the decision before 11 o'clock tonight. So that's just
with the sentencing. So I mean, it's
that's
just
that smells.
I don't trust anything that's done fast and in the dark. So and again, I have no reason not to trust it, I guess, ultimately, because I have no evidence either way. But it just rubs me the wrong way, and it shouldn't. And this could have easily been prevented.
Well, it's rubbing you the wrong way because it's not following protocol. Because a murder case has never been treated the same as a rape case, so it's never been closed. So there's red flag number one. Red flag number two is the speed at which this is moving. I've never heard of a murder case go from A to B in 5 days, one of them including a weekend, because it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Okay, 6 days. I've never heard of such a thing. Right. So there's red flag number two, right? That's all you need as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know. And the thing is, red flag number three, neither one of these youths were street kids. Neither one of them were problematic. So it sounds like you're changing the narrative. So there's red flag number three. So there's your sign. So that's why it's rubbing some people the wrong way. Like I said, it wasn't on my radar. I got like a whole ton of shit on my plate, but I didn't even catch wind of it. All I saw was Karmello Anthony up. I kept it moving. Actually, I thought it was like some kind of an old case or a joke, to be quite frank. So good thing that some people are up and about, and good thing we got you as a YouTuber there, James. So hey, that's all it takes is just one person to start a spark. So
right.
More power to you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, thank you for calling.
And I'm gonna say shout out Miss Betty, and send my best to Hopalong Cassidy. Later.
Like about to be fit, trim, and running. So
there you go. Listen, he's got more fit than I am. Done lost 85 pounds. I'm 50 pounds overweight, and I can't get not one. Every time I diet and exercise, I'm adding another pound. So right. I need Hopalong secret. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.
Hey, I'm with you, Linda. I mean, you at a certain point back in the day, I could, man, especially when I was running track, I could eat like a fiend, boy. Now I'll walk past the room and smell something. I'm out of breath. Yeah, thank you so much. Then we have Lizzie B with the $5 super chat. Said, we can all agree to disagree. No need for name calling. Absolutely not. Please be respectful to James and fellow My Take on Reality subscribers. Remember to hit the like button hit the like button. Let folks know that you're enjoying the content. And again, because you may not like what I'm saying, this is the part of being in a democracy, a people-powered government that we have to start becoming used to again. People are going to disagree. They're going to have differences of opinion. Every piece of news that you hear or consume is not designed to make you feel good. There's nothing in this case that should make you feel positive. Oh, he got sentenced. Yeah, a kid's life is ruined. Another kid ain't here no more. There's nothing positive that came out of this situation today. This is all negative. And if you think about, like, even to Ty's point, if you think about what the parents did, if you worked your whole life so that you could put your kids in the best possible situation, in the best possible school, in the best possible living environment, you know, and Karmello Anthony comes from a home where he had both his mother and his father living in the same house, and they worked hard to put him in a private school. From what I understand, he was going to a private school so that he could do better. He was getting a 3.7 GPA, and you did all that, and yes, for your son to turn up on a catch a case and go to jail potentially for the rest of his life, that's not what you worked for. There's no victories in this. So if that's what you're looking for, like, you know, I don't be that guy, but you know, it's going to get this channel might get a little uncomfortable for you, because I'm not playing around with the whole, like, I'm only going to try to say things in a way to try to make you feel good, like so many people do with even with sister wives stuff. They tell you a bunch of shit. That's why some of the people say that they don't trust certain YouTubers, because at the end of the day, the message that they deliver is just stuff to make you feel good. It has no rooting in reality. It has no basis in what actually happens, and whether it's civil, legal, criminal, or whatever the case may be. But it would just make you feel good to hear that Cody and Robin are somehow going to jail because they ripped off the OG3, and they're not. They're not going to jail. They're not losing any money. Okay, if anything, they've increased their wealth. So we can have disagreements without resorting to calling each other names. And if you are so limited that you're calling somebody a name because you disagree with them, it's more a reflection of you and where you are as opposed to the person that you're calling names with. Disagree with the point, not the person. And I stand on that. Like, because even with regard to like what you're allowed to say on the channel, I once again will go on record as saying this, and then I'll close out. On this channel, you are more than welcome to disagree with me. If you want to call in and tell me, James, you're wrong, I think that blah, 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 I'm not going to ban you. I'm not going to kick you because you disagree with me. I'm not. I encourage discourse. I encourage discussion. I encourage for you to use your brain. Maybe you have information I don't. I also am open to the fact that I don't know every damn thing. And no matter how much education I have, no matter how many licenses I may carry or whatever the case may be, I don't know everything. I can sit here and have an argument with an attorney about the law. I can have an argument with a doctor about medicine. Because at the end of the day, they don't know everything. I've gone toe-to-toe with doctors about my medical and medical treatments. Oh, but I went to college. Well, that's great for you, but you don't understand what's going on. So let me educate you as to what's happening with me. So I take that same attitude when it comes to things that I produce, that I don't know everything. And if you have insight that I don't have, which is why when Ty called up, she says she's from that area. That's why I think that her information is so valuable, because she can give you that background that many of us don't have. She can give you the cultural ties that many of us may be unaware of. But it doesn't do any good for us just to sit here and call her names because we disagree with something she said. That's silly. Like, we got to get past, like, everybody want to complain about how the government is working and this, that, and the other, and why we can't get along as a country and why we so divided. That's why we divided, because we don't respect each other and we don't respect each other's opinions enough to be able to allow people to have differences of opinion and to be able to discuss and argue those opinions without trying to call people names. Crawl off my soapbox. But at the end of the day, for those who don't know, this will be... make sure you go to the My Take on Reality live channel, because I will be pulling people from there. That's why I'll be posting the links and stuff. If you want to come up, a lot of that will be on the My Take on Reality live channel. The My Take on Reality channel will be for produced videos. So make sure you hit that My Take on Reality live channel. Thank you so much, Lizzie B. I appreciate everything you do, as well as being a mega mod and the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. I got something I wanted to do for you guys, but let me hook this up real quick. All right. And we'll take one more phone call. Darlene, what's going on? I'm about to bounce, but I'll give you a chance. What's up?
The comment that she was just telling everybody to be nice and respectful. It was about when Negla 3 said, well, he's a kid, maybe 3 to 5, so that he learns his lesson. She was being compassionate to a child, okay? She wasn't excusing his behavior, but they said, that's it, I gotta go. That's not okay, 3 to 5. You're a dumb adult. Like, what? She's not a dumb adult. She was being compassionate toward a child. Negla said nothing wrong, not at all. So it was about her comment, not Pies or whoever you thought.
Right. No. I saw the
Well, I was
comment.
like, where's my moderators at? Sorry, I didn't mean to do your job.
No. Yeah, I saw it. I did see the comment later, but
Yeah.
I didn't see it at the time. The only thing is that, like I said, it's
Did
like
I take it wrong?
people are going to have opinions about this case, which everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I would encourage that if Negla calls in and she gives an opinion and you disagree with it, call in and give your opinion on why you think Negla's wrong. Don't just sit there and call her names and then bow out and run away. Like that.
We love each other.
From a
You're cool.
or conflict does not resolve said conflict or conversation. That's part of the damn problem in our political discourse. Everybody runs back to their own little personal corners where they can sit around with people of like mind and have the same damn conversation. At that point, you might as well just sit around and talk to yourself, because you're not learning anything, you're not expanding your knowledge, and you're not educating yourself as to why people believe what they believe. Because if you talk to somebody who can look at this case and say manslaughter might be a more appropriate charge as opposed to murder one, then you may learn something different. Maybe you'll see something different. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll keep your same position and you'll think that you're right and that this kid deserves to go away for 35 years. I saw he got 35. But he deserves to go away for a long time. Maybe that's, but you get to argue that point too. But we gotta get out of the habit of just, throwing stones and running away.
Yeah.
Because it's childish and it's unproductive.
Unless they're coming from an emotional point of view. Again, you said it's about race. I don't even know what happened. I have to go investigate. I don't know nothing about this. Where have I been at work? I work 2 jobs. I'm sorry. I don't know. I missed it.
Well, I mean, it's not, like, again, it's a case it's pushed more on social media than anything else. So if you touch grass, you might not have heard about it. Like Linda touches grass. She might not have heard about it. I'm not mad at anybody for not hearing about it, being aware of it. But it really hits but it's going to start making its rounds because I'll say it this way, caveat. It's going to make its rounds because the young man was sentenced to 35 years. And as far as they're concerned, justice is served. What they were looking for, because in my position, in my opinion, I think the people who are complaining about race hustling and racial victimization and all that, what they were looking for was for Karmello Anthony to be acquitted on the first top charge, which is murder 1, and potentially be found guilty for murder 2, and if not, acquitted completely across the board. And if that would have happened, the whole idea that the only way he could have won is because he's a black kid who stabbed a white kid, that story would have taken on a life of its own, and it would have created more division. To Linda's point, why would we do this? Because it creates a distraction. People will be so focused on talking about this that they stop paying attention to other things that are going on, not only in their community, but around the country. And as they start to pass stupid ass laws and bills and initiatives, we won't be paying attention about it because we'll be too busy arguing with each other in our own little separate camps to try to prove points and prove that we're smarter than everybody else and everybody else in the world is dumb. That's what I think.
Instead of, they would have hit the streets. They would have started marching again. They would have been protesting again. Shit would have went down. That's what they didn't want. I think that's why they kept.
Why they convicted him? That's possible. I think that's very possible. That's why they rushed it through and it kept
very
it for sure. But I don't think that. But see, even in that respect, it might have preserved a peace to a degree, but it doesn't bring about justice. And what I look for when I think about the criminal justice system, I want justice. I want fairness, because I don't want a world where in the TV, like I use the example in TV shows and in movies, cops will say, they'll come to somebody's house. I know that this guy is guilty and he has stuff. Watch me. And then the guy, like his partner, will look out for him, and the guy will get now in the police academy. Now they supposedly, I guess, teach you how to pick locks, and the guy picks them, and they break into the house and they find a whole bunch of stuff, and they use vigilante justice to bring about justice. I don't want cops doing that shit. Why? Because they sometimes get it wrong. They get it wrong. They're people too, and they make mistakes. So I don't want them violating this guy's rights or that guy's rights, because where do we draw the line? And when it comes to these types of cases, I don't want mob mentality deciding innocence and guilt. I want facts and reason, innocence and guilt, not people's emotions. Because when people are emotional, they get shit wrong. And if you don't believe me, you can go back and look through time and see where you've had Italian Americans hung off of trees, African Americans, Indians, Irish Americans hanging off trees because somebody felt emotionally about something they perceived to be the wrong thing. I don't want a justice system that works that way. You understand what I mean? I don't want it to come down on God how he feels about shit. I want there to be evidence. I want there to be facts. I want those facts to be adjudicated fairly and evenly. What's good for the goose, good for the gander. If I do something, if I go to jail, if you do the same shit, you should go to jail.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's all I want. Yes, sir. But is it his first offense? Then cut him a break. Life is not for a first offender, a young kid. I hate even them charging people as adults when they're under 18. That burns me up. I would not want to be on the jury, because if I had to sentence somebody to life and I was wrong, I would not be able to live with my guilt.
Right.
No, I strive for fairness. Yeah, I don't like people to have favorites.
I appreciate you calling in. I'm about to bounce. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to let you know I wasn't trying to start no trouble, but that rubbed me the wrong way, and I never say nothing. So okay, bye.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Yeah, but we'll get into it. We'll talk about the Karmello Anthony case a little more extensively. The next one I do, I have some things I have to do on Thursday, so it won't be an evening live stream. I might try to do it at noon, and if I can't do it on noon on Thursday, then I will be here on Friday, and I'll run the live stream. We can talk about the case more in depth and some of my opinions on some of the nuances of the actual case, as opposed to just talking about this one aspect and how the case was put forward. But I appreciate everybody who called in, took time to listen to what we had to say, and are patient. Again, this is the type of community where I want to support each other, and we have to get to a point where we can support each other beyond just hating on Cody and Rob. Right, the evils of polygamy. We have to be able to get to a point where we can have disagreements about things and still support one another and still see the magic and mysticism and the majesty in each other beyond just, Cody bad, Robin bad, OG3 good. So that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Before we go, let me give a huge shout out to the Mega Mod Squad, Lizzie B, Brittany Not Brittany, Carmel Cuties, as well as folks who dropped some super chat, blessed us with some super chats. We had Ty, we had Elizabeth's mama, we had KM Gilbertson with the huge super chat. Thank you so much, KM Gilbertson. We have Negla3 donating My Take on Reality membership, as well as Lizzie B, one of the Mega Mod Squad coming through. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Let me give everybody a little something on the way out. And let's keep it, like I said, let's keep it cool and chill in the chat. Like I said, we can disagree in the chat. Have no problem with that. Call in, disagree with me. I have no problem with that. In fact, I encourage it. I like it. And we'll continue with the hits. We're going to be talking about. I got a lot of stuff. I've been downloading a lot of different cases for us to talk about and dissect. So I'm really excited about the new pathway. Again, make sure you go to My Take on Reality Live so that way you can participate in the live streams, because a lot of the lives are going to live on that channel. The lives are going to live on that channel, with the exception of the membership Saturdays. The lives are going to live on that channel. This channel, My Take on Reality, will be the produced videos, which will include like the shorter form videos as well as shorts. All right. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Ty says she ready for the new stuff, right? Ready to drop it. All right. Yeah, you guys will be able to check out my new do. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my hair, my new style. So you'll be able to check that out. I guess either Thursday or Friday. Make sure you hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications so you get notified as to when we drop. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. Remember, put hearts in the chat for everybody we talked about. Thank you guys. Have a great evening. That's My Take. I'm James, and this has been My Take on Reality, and I'm out.